My name is Jack Capron. I was born in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. My full name is John William Capron III. My grandfather was the first, my dad was the second, and I came along as the third. My dad was a stationary engineer. He was a very energetic, type A type of person, very loyal to his family, extremely competent as far as mechanics of the job that he performed, and he did an excellent job. Well, my dad and I were very close. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to hunt. We had a very close relationship, and we got along fine. He was a disciplinarian to a point, but he was not abusive at all. But he was just not only a good father, he was just a good friend.
Is there a memory that stands out to you with him?
Yes, regrettably, the one that really sticks out in my mind is one that I would hope I could forget, but it happened on November the 12th of 1945, and we were hunting up in Crystal Lake with two other gentlemen, and he had a heart attack, and I was in the Navy at the time, and I took off all my clothes, and on the top at least, and covered him up. We were about a mile from the barn where we were hunting from, and we were hunting on property that we had, leased. And I tried to carry him to the house, and at that time, they didn't have tractors or anything. It was just horse and wagon. So we had to get a horse and wagon to get him to the house, and we took him in there, and it was probably 20 minutes after we got him there that he passed away.
That must have been really hard. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was traumatic for me because 4 days later I left for overseas.
What was that like for you?
Traumatic.
Yeah.
It was very traumatic. But, as I say, I was 20 years old at the time, and I never really felt that I had a real good chance to live, like I'm living with my children and grandchildren. I really miss him even to this day.
What was your mother's name?
My mother came from Wales in England, and her name was Cecelia Capron, or Cecelia Absalom, I should say. That's a Welsh name. And she came over when she was about 13, and she didn't get married to my dad until it was in the 20s, I think, 1920, 21.
What was her profession?
She was a housewife. She was an excellent cook, seamstress. In fact, when she was growing up, she could knit, she could sew, she could upholster, which I didn't know until I was in my 20s. But she was an excellent craftsman as far as that type of work.
How would you describe her and her personality?
Well, again, she was very loving. She was dedicated to my dad, of course, and her oldest son, Lou, and myself. And as I say, she was an excellent cook, good housekeeper, and she was very loving person.
What was your relationship with her like?
Well, as I say, we were close. When I was in the service and I was on liberty, she always did my laundry for me, which I didn't have to do myself. But she was close. She encouraged me to be a good student. She was always aware of doing my homework, which she insisted I do. And she was always diligent about checking my grades, which I tried to keep up because I knew what would be in store for me if I didn't.
Can you describe a memory of her that you have as a kid? Can you describe a memory of her that you have?
Yeah, I think the memory that stands out in my mind was how happy she was when I got married.
Really?
And she met the girl that I picked out. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, she agreed everything that I said about Eleanor, and she was very happy that I found someone that I could spend the rest of my life with, which I did.
So she really liked Dee Dee?
Oh, she loved her. Oh. Yeah. They got along fine.
What was your childhood like growing up? if you were to describe it in a few sentences?
Well, I was a Depression baby, and things were a lot different than they are today. They didn't have a lot of activities for kids in those days.
No pee-wee soccer or anything like that?
No, there was none of that. But they did, I grew up on Rogers Park, around Loyola Avenue, and Loyola had a bunch of Jesuit priests that started a boys' league for baseball. And I ended up being on one of the teams that played in that league. And that's how I met my good friend Dude O'Hara, he was a pitcher. I played left field. We won the championship. And I played a lot of baseball and football, and I enjoyed it. I think that was one of the highlights of growing up because at that time, unlike today, they really had activities for kids that wanted to really engage in stuff. And this league kept the kids off the street, and we had a great time. It was good.
What was your favorite memory growing up? Uncle Dan and Aunt Marianne were curious about that.
Well, as I say, the hunting and fishing that I did with my dad was a high point, and playing in the baseball league was a second because I had a lot of chance to meet good friends. One of the fellas I played with was a shortstop on our team. It was Jack D., who later became a coach at Notre Dame University and a district attorney out in Denver. So, yeah, we had a good relationship. In fact, when the first time I played with D, I was in left field, and the guy that came up to bat hit the ball probably 20 feet over my head. And D came out and said, "Capron, why didn't you catch it?" And I said, "Because I didn't have a ladder." So we got along fine, and it was just enjoyable. It was a great time in my life.
Ellen Polzine, your daughter, told me you spent a lot of time at the movie theater growing up. Why did you like the movies so much? Why did you do that?
That was one of the other activities that, in those days, you could actually go to a movie for a nickel or a dime, depending on the show.
Now it's like $20.
Yeah, so, it's very much, you pay more for popcorn than you do for theater. But, no, I was able to earn money. I did chores for my dad and my mom, and I got a little stipend, and they always gave me permission to go to a movie if I had the chance, so I did. And I enjoyed it, but, aside from the activities and sports, movies seemed to be the other outlet. That was just about it.
What was your favorite movie back then?
Captain's Courageous.
Why? Can you sing the song that I know you love?
Yeah, yo-ho, little fish, yo-ho, little fish. Yeah, Spencer Tracy. No, I liked the theme of the movie. It was a relationship between a ship captain and his son, which I kind of visualized as being very comparable to the relationship I had with my dad. And it was about the sea, which I liked, and I ended up going into the Navy. I guess that was one of the points that I thought about when I joined.
Can you tell me a little bit about your brother, Lou?
Yeah, that was an interesting aspect of my life. Lou actually was 9 years older than I am. And I found out actually by a side street, if you will. It wasn't direct. It was through an aunt that Lou was not really my brother. He was a stepbrother. And I found out, much to my dismay, that he was a stepbrother. Not that it affected our relationship, because our relationship was very, very good. And but my mother had been married before to a gentleman by the name of Charles Drake, and he had died in an accident. He was a lineman for the Massachusetts Telephone Company, and he went out in a storm, got pneumonia, and died. And my wife was, or my mother actually was a widow for about 3 years before she married my dad. But my dad adopted Lou, and I always considered him my brother. I never used the word stepbrother.
Do you have a memory with him that you'd like to
Yeah,
share?
he taught me how to box.
Really?
Yeah, he did. He was a good athlete. He played football, he played baseball, and he knew how to handle himself. In fact, I found out from my dad after he had adopted Lou that he would look for a fight. He wouldn't walk away from it. And,
He's a tough guy.
So actually, he taught me how to box. And I say this with all humility, I turned out to be a little better boxer than he was.
Really? That's great.
But anyway.
Well, I wanted to go a little bit into your schooling in Navy, too. Where'd you go to high school?
Sullivan High School, 6225 South Bosworth in Rogers Park.
Good memory. Well, where'd you go to college?
Illinois Institute of Technology, 33rd and Federal, Chicago.
What was your favorite class growing up, either in high school or college?
Well, I can answer that for both educational centers, both in high school and college. Physics.
Physics?
Yeah, I like physics.
That's funny, because that's my least favorite subject.
Well, I got along pretty good in physics. I think I had very good instructors, and I think that's half the battle. If you get a good instructor, even if it's a tough course, which it was, obviously, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the professors that I had and the teacher, Mr. Gonzalez in high school and Mr. Higgins in IIT.
Were those your favorite teachers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Just curious, because I'm a teacher myself, so.
When?
Or why did you like them?
Well, it was their personality. I think they were obviously experts in their field, but they took an interest in the individuals that they were teaching, and it was almost like if you understood what they were trying to teach, they were very happy about that. They could relate to a student that turned away from it or didn't care. I don't think that they really exercised as much compassion, but once they found a guy or a gal, and we had gals at school in both high school and college, if they found out that a student was really interested and dedicated and ambitious, both of these gentlemen, they did the utmost to make sure you did well.
It's good to know for being a teacher myself. And then you later joined the Navy. Why did you join the Navy?
Well, I was a freshman at IIT at the time, and the draft was on, and I was 18 at the time, and I didn't want to go into the Army, and I didn't want to be drafted. So at IIT, I noticed a bulletin on the board that said that they had a Navy program for commissions, where you would get a commission if you finished it. And they had three or four divisions. One was V1, one was V7, which was medical, V5 was aviation, and V12 was engineering. Well, already being in engineering, I enlisted, and I had to take an exam, and I qualified for it, and I had naval studies along with the engineering studies at Tech, and I got out, and I was commissioned an officer in the Navy.
Wow. What was it like being in the Navy?
I liked it. The war had ended, by the time I got into it, and we were on our way to Okinawa when it ended. But actually, it was a very interesting segment of my life. I liked the people that I met. I liked the discipline. I liked the ship I was on. In fact, I was on two of them. And I liked being on the ocean. It was nice.
And you mentioned you were a pretty good boxer, and Nora Gifford actually wanted you to relay the boxing story in which you beat the Golden Gloves champion, which was quite the entertaining story, I hear. Can you tell me about that? That
was a mistake, and I regret to this day. We were in the chow line, and we got into an argument. The master at arms, who was the gentleman that was a Golden Gloves fighter, and it didn't really, from my aspect, it really didn't amount to much, but he wanted to take me on and say, well, let's step outside. And I said, wait a minute, if we step outside, we're going to get thrown out of here, and I want to get my commission. So he said, well, how should we settle it? I said, well, let's go up in the ring. And I didn't know this guy had fought in the Golden Gloves. If I had, I would have walked away. But it ended up that we got into the ring, and the next thing I know, we were boxing, and he was hitting me, I was hitting him, and the next thing I know, he was on the mat, and his face was all full of blood, and the officer stopped it, and I said, what happened? And one of my roommates said, you butted him with your head. Well, actually, what happened when I ducked, and he stood over me, and when I came up, I hit him with my head.
And you knocked him out.
I knocked him out, broke his nose. And from that time on, and right after that, the coach of the boxing team said, Jack, he said, would you like to be a boxer? I said, no, thanks. I walked away.
That's funny.
I'm ready. I nominate myself for the Ice Bucket Challenge. I nominate my daughter Beth, my son-in-law Jim, Bob, and Rocco Mato. I will be donating to the Alzheimer's Association, and there will be no next time because I'm going home.
Yes, I wanted to do this a long time.
Okay. Ah! Holy shit! Oh!
Grace, would you like to come on back out here and bring your grandpa Jack? Grace and her grandpa are going to share a special thing.
That house must look like a shithole.
Your great-grandchildren, but that's
I would
okay.
tell my great-grandchildren, you know, if you're an American and you really believe in this country, America, I would tell them, just believe that all men are created equal, okay? And I don't care if the guy's yellow, red, black, or blue. He's a human being. God created him, and you treat him like you would like to be treated.